I'm about to sit down to do a bunch of little random projects. And I don't often go live on YouTube, but I thought I would. For fun. Okay, first we gotta plug in the wheel. Okay, it's plugged in. Yes? Yes? No. Oh, here. There we go. Okay, it's been a while. All right, I may or may not be able to see your comments because the camera's kind of far from me, so I can't even see like how many people are here, but hi. Oh wow, already a bunch of people here. Okay, so yeah, I have a couple of random projects to do right now, and so I thought I would do them and say hi. I've got 3 different clay bodies here, 4 or 5 different projects. Normally when I throw, I'm just doing one thing, and I'm doing like a ton of that one thing, but not today. I'm getting ready to go on a little vacay, and I just wanted to get these things done before I left. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is throw off the hump. This is a clay body that I used to use called Willamette Red from Seattle Pottery Supply. And I have an old special order, like 2 or 3 years old, that I'm trying to fulfill. And the plates have been done. They've been sitting there for probably about a year, but I'm afraid to glaze them because my glazes have changed. And so I'm finally gonna make some little tests out of this clay body that I used to love. But it really doesn't vitrify at cone 6. So it's okay for plates. And I stopped using it, but you know, sometimes you have to, you know, the old customer wants a special order. They want to have a plate that matches their old set. So these are just going to be some little things so I can test my current glazes and see. And I really didn't need this many, but that's okay. And if I can get it close, we're going to call it good enough. So these are just little, I call them lids, but I bet there's a better, some people call them like little everything bowls. Infinity bowls, I've heard them called, infinity pots. But they're just like a little teeny thing that I use as a lid for my personal teapots. So I'll make a handful of those and then a handful of mini bowls. And then I'll move on to a couple of these other projects. Some are a little bit more kind of precise than others. They need more, they need to, like rulers and things. This one doesn't, this one just needs, I just need a little piece of clay to put a glaze on too. So let's see, if there are questions, you can try to ask them and I'll see if I can see them. If you're not following me, I've been having a lot of kind of fun and crazy experiments lately going on. So you can follow me to follow along with my crazy experiments. When I get going, these take me about a minute each, these little lids. I'm gonna have to lower my seat here. As soon as I feel uncomfortable, I usually lower my seat. Okay. Special tools. This one's a broccoli rubber band for finishing the rims. This is called a Bill Van Gilder hump cutoff tool. Oops. This one is a modified kitchen knife that has a template for a foot to make a little design there so I don't have to do any trimming. So those are the 3 tools that I'm really using here. Oopsie. That's my pointer paintbrush for other things later. If I'm going to make more than one of the same thing, I will use my pointer. But since this hump is going down in space, I don't need it. I've got my studio, we're doing a studio improvement project right now. So to clean it up and make the background kind of blank, because I'm getting ready to record like a masterclass series. And when I said that to somebody or to a group of people, somebody was like, oh my gosh, I'm on master class and thank God they finally have pottery coming. And I didn't really mean that master class. I just meant my own, like, quote unquote master class. However, it's kind of a good idea to see if the master class would want a potter. So that's an idea. Get in touch with them. That could be really fun to do a super simple beginner series, pottery beginner series. So fun stuff coming up. This is getting a little too big. That's a little large for a lid. Okay, let's see. We'll do 2 more of those and then I'll make the rest into little mini bowls. Those will eat up the clay a little faster and then we'll move into the other clay bodies. I always use my breath. Just makes things come out better. Let's see. Oh, there are some things. What are you making? Hi, so these are really, they're just gonna be like kind of little test tiles for glazes because I had a special order that I'm worried about my glaze for. So this is a clay body that I don't use anymore. And I just need to test my new glazes on this old clay body. But I can use them for lids of my personal teapots, which is a 3-piece system that has a mug and a tea strainer and a lid. So, okay, let's see. How long have I been doing this? 37 years this year, 37 years. Isn't that amazing? I did take a couple of little breaks. I'm also experimenting with a new bowl because usually my bucket is like pretty big and overwhelming, and I'm getting ready for this master class where I don't want the water bucket to be, towering over my wheel. But I don't think that this one's ideal because it's very tippy. So let me see what else is here. Have you heard of clay supplier in the UK called some Valentine clay? No, I don't know anything about clay in the UK, unfortunately, but that's a nice name, if I read it right. And then I have natural clay. I sifted and harvested for some fun experiments. It seems to crack quite easily when throwing it. Should I add sand and some water to it? You know, I've never processed my own clay, but there is a Facebook group called, I think, Wild Clay, and I would ask people who know something about it instead of me. That's not my wheelhouse. I just buy it and throw it. But good questions, everybody. Where did I study ceramics? These are great questions. So I started at Wesleyan University in Connecticut. I was pre-med and I just needed a class to kind of, be something fun. When I was in college, I decided that it was important to do what I loved. So I took ceramics, fell in love with it, quit pre-med, changed my major, and then straight out of college, now I'm gonna start making these little mini bowls. Straight out of college, I got an apprenticeship in Texas. And that's when I really studied. So I kind of like practiced a little bit in college, and then when I got an apprenticeship, I was working 60 hours a week on the wheel with masters. And it was at a place called Pottery. And a cool thing is that now a lot of those potters that I was working with, are on social media, and they've all gone like kind of way beyond or in new directions from what we were making back in Texas. But I'm old school, and I do some new things, but I'm still kind of a production potter. Like, it kind of got into my bones then, and I love throwing functional work, and so I kind of stuck with it, where most of them, Vicente Garcia, he's doing mostly raku now, and And Craig McMillan, he is down in Louisiana, and he's doing like big installation pieces. And my main mentor was Teaduong, you pronounce it Young Tenbin, and he does much bigger pieces now too, but still does a little bit of production stuff. So, oh, there was a question and it kind of was there and then it disappeared. So feel free to keep asking. This is called throwing off the hump. It's a way to just use the same chunk of clay to make a lot of little things. Some people throw bigger stuff off the hump, but I've always used it just for the little stuff. So you don't have to center every single piece. Oh yes, pottery. I can finally relax. Awesome, welcome. Yes, please relax. Get a cup of tea, settle in, ask a few questions. Let's hang out. Oh, here it is. Raku. I studied with Rick Hirsch, the only American to raku in front of the emperor in Japan. He was an arrogant ass. You know, sometimes you get those. I heard that about Malcolm Davis too. Just a great potter, but I think his name is Malcolm Davis. Is that right? I think it is. Yeah. Great potter, but somebody said, yeah, kind of an ass. But wow, beautiful pots, beautiful Shino. Any tips how to compress bottoms when throwing off the hump? I just treat it like a regular bottom. I do compress it. I treat it as though it were like on a bat. And then I often, if it's a clay, I think some clays will crack more than others. So with those, I will sometimes stamp the bottoms, and the stamp kind of creates a little compression. And I've also heard, though I haven't tested this, but I think it's about the thickness of the bottom. So if you trim or somehow throw your bottom so it's thin enough, then it shouldn't crack. The old timers were wonderful. Chris Staley, I think it's Alan Higby, is that right? And I can't see that first name, but yeah, I came from such a small little place that I'm kind of lacking in some of my art history and even pottery history. Like I don't know a lot of the big names. Like if you asked me to I can't even think of anybody right now. Like, but if you asked me what their pots were like, I'd be like, oh, I think they were kind of like, I might be able to like do a match, a Wayne Higby, Bob Armiston. Thanks for that. Yeah, I should really do a little studying. I should really know some of the big name potters. Would be good. Would be good to take a little pottery history class. Thank you, thank you. How did I get inspired on Twinkle of? my vision is not very good, so I'm not sure if I'm reading correctly. Let me go up a little bit here. Oh, there's something else. But when cleaning up after using that clay body is like cleaning up a murder scene. I like dark clays, and well, I guess it depends on where you work, but if you work in your own studio, you can kind of choose your level of cleaning. So, if you just have one clay body, you don't have to clean between different, when you're switching over, or if you do have multiple clay bodies, having different sets of tools can be nice, and even a different wheel. But I think finding, I say that your clay body is like a primary relationship. And if you don't love pretty much everything about it, find a new relationship, get a divorce, start dating again. Oh, how did you get inspired of all of this? It's just, for some of us, it's just absolutely addictive. Making things, getting better at something, making functional things, making things that you can sell and make a living at, For me, when I started pottery, it was kind of like, I felt like I had cracked the code to life. It's like, wait a minute, I can make art that like everybody, like if I were a painter, I'd have to find people who liked my style. But as a potter, I mean, you still have to find people who like your style, but it's like a lot of people use bowls and plates. Basically, every person uses bowls and plates. So if I can just make ones that are nicer than the ones that they have and not too expensive, and for some people, they can make expensive things and sell them. But as a production potter, it was kind of like finding that sweet spot where it felt really worth it for a person to replace whatever they were using with what I was making. So, do you color the pots that I make? Do I color them? Like glaze them? How did you get inspired? Oh yeah, so I do glaze all my work. They wind up very colorful. At least that's where I'm at now. I use mostly jewel tones. Somebody said hi. 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 I used to mostly use social media like Facebook and Instagram. And then, a lot of people are not so into Meta, as you might know. And a lot of people just like hanging out on YouTube. So this year, surprisingly, I wound up getting some students off of YouTube, which was really surprising because there's something about YouTube where you can't actually see the person or private message them, where it's kind of hard to feel like we can actually get to know each other. Visiting artists came to my elementary school. That was 52 years ago, and I'm still covered in clay. That's amazing. I also remember some demos from college that where we had a visiting teacher come in, and I just see some things done that I was like, wow, you can do that. Things that blow your mind. Yeah, clay is addictive. It is. It's really fun. And it's always a challenge. Like, no matter what, even the simplest pot is a certain type of a challenge. And it demands our presence, and it's like brings together art and technique. And there's so many elements to it. Having your own studio, like you have to be a plumber and an electrician and a carpenter, and it's very demanding, and it just kind of keeps you thinking and learning and figuring things out. Thank God for YouTube. Okay, I hope I answered your question. If I kind of didn't understand a question or didn't read it right, feel free to ask it again or clarify. Almost done with this clay. Almost time to move on. Let's see here. All right. Try to clean this up because, yeah, I think I'll be taking this bat off the wheel and moving to my bat system next. Let's grab all this. Okay. I love the efficiency, production pottery. Just trying to do everything like the best way possible. Really fun challenges. Always a challenge. Okay, I think I can get one more bowl out of here. Small one, I think. Little guy. Yeah, so these are all going to be little tests. little glaze tests. My poor customer, she has been waiting for years for these plates, and I lost the glaze recipe, and then, so I lost the glaze recipe, and then I've come up with like alternatives, but they're just not the same at all, and yeah, when I moved, I lost the glaze recipe. Okay, let's clean up this bat and move on to my next project, which is going to be, oh yes, I have to remake. This is the one where I'm gonna have to measure, and then I'm gonna have some fun. So take that bat off. I'll bring it back in a little while. And we are gonna put on my square bat system. I like to put some water on the wheel so I minimize any dust that gets kicked up. And one of these are MDF bats that my partner made for me. Okay, come up a little higher. Okay, now we gotta do some measuring. And, oh shoot, I don't think I wrote it down. I might have to get the thing. It'll be good for me to get the thing because then I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm using a clay ruler to measure this so I can remake this piece. These are like a little bit of a pain. It's a special order that I regret taking a little bit. Okay, a bunch of hazards around here. So I have to remake this because I refired it to fix it and I gave myself a new problem of pinholes. So now it's time to remake it. So first I'm gonna do the top piece. And let's see here. So this is a clay ruler, and this is 5 inches, and that is, yeah, 5 by 2.5. That's what I thought. So this clay ruler tells me how much to throw a finished piece to. So now I'm gonna take my regular ruler to do the measuring. Okay, so 5 by 2.5, I'm gonna make 2 of them just to make sure. 5 by 2.5, and then let's see this one. I had an extra one for some reason. I can't remember what that's for, but I think that these 2 are the ones I wanted to use. Oh yeah, I need to make a bowl. Okay, 5 by 2.5, and then I need to make a bowl to cut that little piece to hand build it. Okay, so first this. So now I'll set up my pointer. After I do the first one, it'll make the second one easier. I need to leave a lot of clay on the bottom because I'm gonna need to throw the foot onto it. That's how I do my goblets. I throw the foot onto the top. I want this to be nice and wide. So I'm coming out. Okay, and a nice thick rim. This is not a drinking goblet, it is a dipping goblet. Okay, so let's see where we're at here. I'm going to 5. We're at 5 exactly. Okay, just a little taller. Okay, let's get this out of here. And this a little taller. Let's see how tall that is. That's a little too tall. Okay. All right, well that feels really small to me, but let's see. We'll make some space. We need some space on the inside for the wine and the grape juice. That's what this is for. It's a goblet for a set, for a kind of communion type of thing. So let's see here. What do we have? We've got 5 exactly, and we've got 2.5 exactly. Okay, we better stop. All right, and I'll clean this up. And that's done, and now this is all set for the next one. And I'll have some to Unfortunately, to trim, I could have used a little less clay. Let me get a little bit out just right here since I have it here. I almost never do this because I just like to use the right amount of clay, but I used a little too much. The reason I used a little more clay than when I first made them was that I wanted slightly thicker walls, because the first time I made them, they kind of warped in the fire from that middle wall, kind of made it triangular. Okay, now let's see if anybody said anything. So you're pretty much throwing to a gauge, exactly. Yeah. That's how I get the the same size shape as I set up a gauge, exactly. Exactamundo. Very helpful with production. Okay, let's get this one out. And then always the next one is much faster and easier because I have my gauge there. I know where I'm going. Highly recommended. Throw with a point. I call it a pointer, but it's a gauge. Okay, one more. Roll it. Base in a little bit. Open into a bowl shape. That's basically what this is a bowl. Throw straight to the pointer, aka gauge, and leave the rim thick. I'm thinking that the thicker I leave the rim, the less chance it's gonna warp. One more pull. I almost always do 2 or 3 pulls. Just about everything I make is about 2 or 3 pulls. Highly recommended that if you're a potter, you learn to discipline yourself to that, because what I say is touch is not clay's love language. Touch is not clay's love language. I think it likes, what is it like? What are the other ones? Gifts, words of appreciation. I think that's probably it. You're such a beautiful clay body. Look at you. You're gonna be a gorgeous goblet. Okay, so that's that. Get that out of the way. And then I'll show you here. So I need a wall in there. So I'm gonna throw a bowl that I'm gonna cut up to use in both of those for the wall. Just like those little bowls I was making before, basically. A little water. Okay. All right. Oh my God. You can't see it, but I have the best view. I'm looking at the ocean out my window. Can you believe that? I never thought I would have an ocean view out of my pottery studio. Never did I ever. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just take this all the way to the bottom, because I don't need a bottom, and I don't need this. Sometimes if the gauge is there, now I started calling it a gauge. If the gauge is there, it kind of messes me up because I throw to it. So I don't want it there if I'm not using it. I'm just trying to get the angle here that I need for these. Let's see here. This is gonna give me plenty. I think this was 3/4 of a pound or so. Let's see, we need it to actually have a wall here. Okay. Okay, that got a little thin on the bottom, unfortunately. That's probably not that great, but let's see here. Might have been good for me to throw it exactly to, no, I'm gonna have to cut it at an angle anyway. This is fine. And a similar rim thickness will be good to make it just look about the same. Let's clean this up. Clean this up. All that stuff on the bottom just won't be used, so it's okay. I got a little thin down there. And I'll clean this up on the inside. All right, and I'll clean this up. Okay, I think that's gonna work. All right, let's get that out of the way. And now we're moving on to fun stuff. Yay, fun stuff. Okay, so these are gonna be mugs that I use for the Potter's Rise Up. Does the ocean have a lot of sand? It does, yeah. We have a nice beach. Yeah. Opposite choice. My studio is in the Rocky Mountains. Moved here 6 years ago. Well, that's beautiful too. Yeah, I mean, I got very lucky here. I live here rent-free. Don't even ask. I don't know how it happened, but I have a I'm very, 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 very lucky, blessed. Let's call it blessed. Very blessed life. Yeah, but with the way things are in the United States, we're looking at moving. So that happens too. Yeah, the ocean is very sandy, or the beach is sandy. It's a sandy beach. Okay, now these are 1 pound. I'm gonna throw them thick so I can carve them up. I'm gonna carve words in them. These are for Potter's Rise Up. That's a group that I started. If you want to join us, we're on Facebook. And if you're not on Facebook, you can get on our email list you can send me a message. My email is just my name @gmail.com, amypalatnick@gmail.com. So, yeah, Potter's Rise Up is a group of resistance-oriented potters who do actions together, support each other, and inspire each other. Just caught my shoulder creeping up. My right shoulder is like up by my ears. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna do some cylinders now for mugs that I have to discipline myself to keep thick. I wish I had looked at my measurements, but I think I have to keep them to 5 inches or so. Okay. I can thin out the top. So the very top is a drinking top, so I want that part to be thin, but the bottom is a carving part. So I need that to stay thick. Okay. Second pull. A lot of extra time at the bottom. That'll change your throwing. Spend extra time at the bottom. Okay. So these are basically like a canvas for me to write messages on. And then I'll just even that out. Dig under. There's just a tiny bit of clay to move up from the bottom there. And really have to stay disciplined to leave it thick for carving. Okay, now I can set my pointer and all the rest will be easy. I wonder if that sand would be useful in the clay. Not in my clay. Not in my clay. My clay is perfect. It's formulated by somebody who knows a lot about throwing bodies. And yeah, I mean, if I found a deposit of wild clay, I would check it out. I would try it. But, you know, as a thrower, we want plasticity, we want all these qualities in the body, we want vitrification, and it's not just so simple as like, oh, throw some sand in your clay, or oh, just get clay from the river, you know. That I think that basically almost never works. So yeah, so This is like, it's like a recipe. So it's like if you ate a souffle one day and you're like, God, that was an amazing souffle. What's in it? Oh, like flour and water and baking soda, or flour and baking soda and egg or whatever it is. And then you're like, oh, I have some flour. Maybe if I just like threw some flour into something, it would make a souffle. Like, it doesn't work that way. So, let's get this out. I cut these off after. Anything that, well, these mugs I could take off, but since I'm working with this bat system, I'm just gonna keep using it. However, I'm gonna need to go get some more bats in a moment. Or I'll just stop using it and I think I'll just move to my hands in a minute. This is fun. Clay is fun. Yeah, I got the clay part, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're interested, I don't know if you're the same person who asked this question, but if you're interested in, and you know, regular sand from the beach is not the kind of sand you want to put in your clay. You need, let's like 300, at least 300 mesh, I think, or maybe a little bit less, silica. That means it's ground. It's ground up. So I guess if you have a ball mill or something like that, you might try to take sand, but silica is, you know, purified. I think it's actually quartz that's ground, not sand. I don't think that sand makes clay. I think it's quartz that makes silica. So anyways, it's not just sand. I'm pretty sure you can't just use sand in your clay. But look it up. You know, I know some people have experimented with using ground seashells. Oh shoot, I forgot to set my pointer. Okay, this time. Don't forget, Amy. Don't forget. Look up to here. Then at the top for a drinking rim. Lips don't like thick rims. Lips like a thin rim, most lips. Okay, so let's set that pointer before I forget. They don't have to be all exactly the same, but with mugs I don't care too much unless I'm making a set for somebody. I don't care too much about them being all exactly the same, especially these resistance mugs. And yeah, we have a great group of potters. I think that I have like about 900 people on my email list and on my Potters Rise Up email list. And maybe like 2,700 people in the Facebook group, and about that same amount, maybe a little bit more, of Instagram followers. So it's cool. Have you ever farted and been like, damn, that's actually not bad? That's not really a pottery related question, but yeah, I'm not totally opposed to the smell of my own farts. I actually don't mind it at all. Kind of smells like food to me, you know, which is basically what it is, just in a different form. Ground eggshells. Yeah, people use stuff, but really, if you're a serious potter, well, except for if you're serious about doing wild clay stuff, that's a whole different group of people you're talking about. That is a unique crew of people who do their wild clay stuff. They're wild people. But basically, if you're a regular potter, you want to use regular clay, which means from a clay supplier. I have students who are playing around with wild clay, and you know, basically, and I have had customers bring me clay to test, and basically what you have to do when you find some clay is fire it up. Well, first of all, see if you can work with it, see if it'll do the thing you want it to do. And then you want to fire it up to different temperatures inside something else so it's safe, so it doesn't melt all over your kiln shelf. And see what temperature it vitrifies at. That means it becomes glass. It doesn't absorb water. So there's a whole test you can do to test for vitrification, and you can do that from an easy Google search. But basically, you make a little tile out of your clay. You fire it up to your top temperature. You weigh it. You soak it in water for 24 hours. You weigh it again. And then I think you subtract the dry weight from the wet weight and divide that by the dry weight. If my memory is correct, that's how you do it, but it's something like that. And then you know your absorption. And if you have a clay with 0 or 1% absorption and you like how it works, then you've got a clay body. You also might just have a glaze out of it. And actually, there's this guy, what's his name? Patrick. Oh, I gotta look this guy up. He takes the dirt out of his backyard. Okay, so I have another group called the Glaze Wizards. Glaze Wizards. And that's on Facebook. And that's a group of us who are interested in learning about glaze chemistry and glaze formulation. And this guy, Patrick, I'm so glad I thought of him. He's in that group, and he's told us about the different glazes he makes basically from dirt in his backyard with a little bit of borax. So it can be done. I'm over here poo-pooing it, but the truth is it can be done. Especially for glaze. I'm not so sure about clay bodies, but people do it. Okay, 2 more of these. Oh, this is perfect. Okay. I just used the slip on my hands to moisten the bat. That's a little hack. Is it expensive to do pottery? Like, are the supplies expensive? Well, it's all relative. Clay right now is a lot more expensive than it used to be. So when I started off, I was buying, my clay was about 20 cents a pound. I'd say the average was, and I had one clay that was really expensive that was 36 cents a pound. And now it's at least double that. So that's a lot. The other materials that we use are pretty expensive. It just depends on what you're talking about. There's so many different ways to do pottery. Like this guy I'm saying, he gets the dirt out of his backyard. That's pretty cheap. But to buy bagged clay is pretty expensive. Then you have your materials. So the wheels cost for a good wheel, you're gonna probably spend about $1,000. For a good kiln, you're probably going to spend between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on what you're doing. I mean, kilns can be a lot more than that, and you can also build a kiln for almost nothing. Just depends on what you want to do. I do raku. Yeah, I do. Then we use some minerals like cobalt. It just depends on what you want to make. If you mix your own glazes, it's cheaper than buying commercial glazes. Commercial glazes are quite expensive, but mixing your own glazes, you still have to stock all these materials and you have to have the room for it. And tin, it just depends on what you do. I'm sure you can do it. I tried it with my students. I try to show them ways to do it that are pretty affordable with glazing. I try to share kind of relatively simple, inexpensive glaze recipes. But it can get very expensive. Some people use gold on their pots. So it really depends on what you want. Okay. Sorry, but I cannot read that. Hello from Germany. Love your content. Thank you. If somebody who has their hands clean could translate Joaquim Manuel's dos Santos Bordes Obrigados. I don't know what that says. So if somebody could translate that, I would love to know. And I think it's so super cool now that we can translate, what people say to us, that we can communicate with each other across languages. Isn't that amazing? Okay. I use ribs to get rid of the throwing lines, to give myself a nice clean surface to work with, especially with words coming on these guys. And then I leave the top part kind of with a hand-thrown feel. I purposefully have these finger marks in that part. Wow, that is expensive. It looks so calming and relaxing to do. So if you want to, the cheapest way to do a little pottery, if you haven't done any of it, is to find a class. Find a class at a community college or anywhere, you know, community center, and see if you like it. And then, you know, I mean, there's always cheap ways of doing everything. So if you're not, if you can wait, if you can like take a class and you're like, oh my God, I love this, then start looking on Facebook Marketplace for wheels and kilns. And you just never know, you know, one of my students got a wheel just given to her by a neighbor who just wasn't using it. So it's kind of one of these things where it's a very expensive habit that a lot of people get into, but not everybody continues. So there's a lot of people who got a kiln in their shed or whatever that's just sitting there acting like a piece of furniture. So there are a lot of pieces of equipment out there for us. Some of them are older, you know, it just depends on what you're willing to do. But you can also totally get scores, you know. I've gotten one free wheel. Let me see, where did the other one come from? Anyway, I always have my eye on Facebook Marketplace just in case. So, okay. Santos Antonio Fatima Partiu. Hi, hola. I think that we're speaking in Bonico Santos. I think we're speaking in Spanish, but I'm not sure. I really think everybody should know Spanish. I'm sorry that I don't know Spanish, if that was Spanish. If it's Portuguese, I don't know that either. But I don't feel as bad about not knowing Portuguese. I do feel kind of bad. I took French in high school, which is très bien, but it's also not very useful. So, unfortunately, malheureusement, je ne peux pas parler avec les Espagnols amigos y amigas. So, I'm right now learning Farsi a little bit. Great, yeah, look into that. Hi! Thanks for calling me beautiful. Let's see. What were we just saying? That threw me off. I forget what I was saying. Talking about French and keep looking for stuff. Yeah. Hi. Oh, Carol, hi. Carol is one of my biggest commenters. Just almost every time I post a video, Carol says something. That really means a lot, you know? It's just really nice when people do that. Sometimes you post and it's just absolute crickets. So Carol, I appreciate you. I really, really appreciate you. There's a handful of people who are like that, and they're like my angels, you know? I'm thinking that maybe did I tap that? Doesn't look right. It's too tall. I'll look at this again in a second. This is my last one of these mugs. You know, I've done several lives on YouTube, but I don't think I've ever done one when I was throwing. I go live sometimes on Instagram and Facebook. Maybe more Instagram. So yeah, if you want to follow me, if you're on those things, I'm Amy the Potter on Instagram and Amy Palatnick on Facebook. Okay. All right. So after this, I have a mystery clay. I did a demo at a local school and I just absolutely love the teacher there. And she has all this clay that she doesn't want to use. And she gave me 3 bags of it. And then if I like it, she'll give me more. So that's what's happening next, is I'm gonna test this clay out. And this one that I'm using right now is like one of my favorite clays. So it's good to do it right before, so I'll have kind of a sense like the feel for the difference. Okay. Oh, this one I have to take off with my hands. So let's do this. So when you take a pot off the wheel with your hands, you need a place to put it. You need to clean your hands off. This is one of these things, normally my bucket, I can go like scrape my hands on to clean them off, but you'll use this. Try not to get towels too dirty. I really don't like to. Oh, here, wait. You need to go to bed? But it's so camping, I don't want to go. So calming. Oh, well, hopefully it'll put you to sleep. I know a little bit of Japanese and want to learn more. In fact, I want to move to Japan. Hey, that sounds like a big move. I don't know where you live right now, but that's cool. And good night to the person who's going to sleep. Let's get that there. And then I'm gonna need, here, let's just do this. Oh yes, I was gonna tell you before that I'm kind of learning Farsi right now because my partner is Persian and his family speaks Farsi, and it's nice to be able to speak to them. So that's been my language lately, and then I'm gonna, once I feel like relatively competent with Farsi, then I'm going to move over to Spanish and really commit there. And I'd also like to brush up on French. Okay, here we go. This is called Black Mountain clay. We're testing it out. Little groggy. A little bit of sand in here. Okay. I'm gonna make 3 just cylinders. Usually when I test out a new clay, I just like to see how far I can push it. So I'm gonna make some cylinders. That might have been too thin on the bottom there. Okay, let's just see how this goes. Pretty good. Pretty good. But let's see how the walls pull. Okay. This one I'm not working on keeping it as thin as I can. I'm going to go up higher. Good. This holds its shape. It's very good throwing body. Very good. Nice. Okay. Make that drinking rim, that thin rim. And then why don't we see, because I think that this one is actually gonna, I'm gonna cut through the bottom, I think. I'm gonna push that in and I'm gonna belly it out. Yes, very nice. Very nice. Very nice clay body so far. Obviously I've gotta like the way it fires and it interacts with my glazes, but that's a good clay body. Okay, use the footer so there's no trimming. Oh, that was upside down. Okay, let's get that right side up. And the magic rib. Oh, I've got low battery. Thank you for doing a live. I love watching in real time. You're welcome. Good night at Germany. Hold on a sec. Germany, 1 o'clock. Gotta go to bed. I think that's what it says. I gotta go to bed. My phone's starting to kind of disappear into like the low power mode. As though it weren't hard enough for me to read what you guys are saying. No, I really can't see it. Okay. Let's get a nice big one here. That's really great. Okay. let's see if I can get this off with a bottom. I'm going to use a different wire, the thinnest wire I have. See if we can keep a base on it. Thin wire. Okay, it's not the thinnest one I have, but let's see how it does. Yes. Okay, awesome. It's good to have several different gauges of wires for lots of different reasons, but this one for sure. Okay, that's a great mug. I'm excited. I feel excited right now because this clay has just been sitting here. Let's see how it comes off. Gorgeous. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay, let me get into low power mode. Maybe I can see you again. Low power mode. Okay. Grog in a clay is great for throwing larger pieces, especially if you're making a piece in sections. Sure, yeah, but you can also make plenty nice pots without any grog in sectional pots. All these ones behind me, those all have no grog. They're pretty big. This one, yes, this is a sandy clay body. Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited about this one. Okay, a couple more mugs and then a couple more little things and then I'll be done for now. This one's gonna have a little bit more of a base. Everybody likes that. Making pots is my favorite hobby. Yes, making pots is my favorite hobby. It's good when your job is your obsession. Really good combination. It's also nice when it's at home. And it's really nice if you have an ocean view. Oh my gosh, this person who's writing in Spanish, at least I think it's Spanish, I have no idea what you're saying, but I'm hoping that I can go back later and translate it. Okay. It's getting better all the time. These are so fun. Oh, nice clay. I'm not sure what the clay company is that makes this. Oh, there it is. Aardvark. Aardvark. Where's that? Aardvark. I know armadillo, but I'm just not sure about aardvark. Okay. So fun. I don't even know how much clay this was. I think that they were 3/4 of a pound. Hello from Russia. Hi, what time is it in Russia right now? Goodness, Russia. It's an interesting place to live, huh? Gotta be. Okay, let me just, where's my, here, well, just dry my hands off. Okay. One more mug, then a bunch of little things, and then sayonara. From India, hi! There was one clay body I really enjoyed called Columbia Red. Yes, unfortunately Seattle Pottery Supply has discontinued it. Okay, so here's a little trick about that. is usually they'll make you some. So call them up. If you want some Columbia Red, just say, hey, I'm hoping you still have the recipe for Columbia Red. Could you make me some? So if you love it, and especially if you can afford to buy it in bulk, yeah, check it out. They made me some Willamette Red. I had to get some for this special order. That's just what I was just throwing just now. Uh-oh, I'm splattering it. That's okay. Just tests. Okay, la la, la lee. Oh, here, why don't I do this one like the others where I'm gonna carve into it. So I'm gonna keep this one thick. I'll make a cylinder, and I'm gonna not thin out the walls. But do thin out the rim. Okay. Oh, thank you. I think me encanta tu trabajo. I think it means like you like my work. Is that right? Me encanta tu trabajo. And you're from Chile. Hola, 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 Chile. Muchas gracias. Me encanta tu trabajo. Te saludo desde Chile. I don't know what that part means. Something about Chile. Chile. If anybody is bilingual, feel free to translate. Well, thank you for the info, Amy. I will do that. I'm not sure what that is, but you're welcome. Oh, about Columbia Red, probably. Yes, yes, yes. Isn't that great? Yeah. I live in Santa Cruz, but I use clays from Clay Art Center in Tacoma. I love their clays, especially walnut. That's my favorite. That's the clay I got married to. I got married to walnut last year, and obviously I'm still dating around a little bit because I have all these different clays. We're slightly polyamorous, me and walnut, but mostly walnut is my primary partner, let's say. Well, I don't know. I think that I'm what's it called? When you don't totally commit. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I'm in love with walnut right now, but I still, every once in a while, go on dates with other clay bodies. Like I said, I love your work. I salute you from Chile. Thank you so much. I think it's Pauline. Thank you so much for translating. That means so much to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let me see if I can move that over here. Oh, look, I have a spinny thing here. That's a spinny chair. Okay, here we go. We're gonna finish like we started. If you were here at the beginning, throwing off the hump. Just gonna make a bunch of little stuff. Now I've splattered everything. I'm just gonna make some little stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Makes the world so much smaller and closer when we can talk to each other, when we can understand each other. And I recently got the new AirPods. I think it's like AirPods. Mine is just the second generation that I got. I got them used, but they supposedly translate if you have the right. Now I need a new iPhone. Have you heard of a clay called Plum Black from Clay Art Center? I have heard of it and I have not tried it, but thanks for reminding me because of course I want to try all the yummy clays. And Plum Black sounds really good, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay, so this is me back to these little lids. I took a little too much clay for that one. I gotta get tinier little grip on these. Plum Black. I hear also that for a little while I was kind of like dipping into some porcelains, and I think that Clay Art Center has like a 50-50 stoneware porcelain that's supposed to be excellent, but you know, I like dark clay bodies. Okay. Let's see here. Feel free to ask questions. It's really nice if you have them. I think I was saying this before about YouTube, is that it can feel so like, who are all you people? It can feel so kind of disconnected, like just because we don't have our profile pictures, things like that, you know, can't really check out a person's life on YouTube, or I don't know, it's just kind of usernames. So doing things like this it's just so special that like people can kind of come out of the woodwork and get to know each other. That happened to me this year, I think, with at least one of my students. Isn't really a social media person, but found me on YouTube. And so now like we kind of know each other. So we're gonna get to know each other. My course starts in March. What are you making? Oh yeah, so these are mostly just, this is a clay body that I don't normally use. So these are just little things that I can either sell as little dishes, or what I normally use them for are the lids of a tea set that I make called a personal teapot, which is a mug and a lid and a strainer. And the lid is a dual purpose lid, where it's a lid at first and then it flips over like this and turns into a saucer. So it's like a lid / saucer. But the reason I'm making these, well, first of all, I always need them because I run out of them so fast. But second of all, I'm using this clay body, and so it's fun to make lots of little somethings to test all my different clays. I'm the guy on the right, number 43 in red. I think that's a joke, right? I'm the guy on the right, number 43 in red. I don't know. I don't think I think that's a joke. If it's not, please tell me how to find you, because I don't know what that means. Okay. When I throw off the hump, I like to center the hump. Some people will just like center it each time, but if you center the whole hump, then you don't have to. Then you can just keep grabbing off the top. So as a production potter, I'm always looking for the easiest way. I'm always looking to take care of my future self, not make a lot of work for my future self or my near future self, like the one who's going to throw the next pot. I also learned, like here, I don't know if you can see, but my hands are basically staying slippy and dirty. I'm not doing much. I'm seeing if I think I can stick these in between instead of having to get up. I've run out of room on my little bat over there. Yeah, this might not be the most exciting to watch, but I do have to get it done. If I make these too round, they don't look good. They look like hats on top of my pots. So I like to get them flat, but still functional. Like they still have to be able to act like a saucer and hold a little bit of water. So if some of you have been watching other potters on here, I'd love to hear who you like to watch. Who are your favorite potters on YouTube? It's funny because it's a kind of hypnotizing seeing you doing this. Is that hypnotizing doing it too? I haven't tried it yet, but would love to. Yes, it is. It's like a meditation. It is like a meditation. And when I'm not talking at the same time, I'm just breathing and I'm just in a flow and I'm connected to my body. And it is, you know, when you first start off, it's not going to feel meditative. It's going to feel frustrating. It's going to feel like, you know, she made it look so easy. I thought it was going to be easy. But then if you are committed enough to get through over the hump to where you actually have like some level of ease with it, then yes, that's when you hit that meditation time. The guy on the left is my Ireland Gregory Jorgensen. I am Jerry Benzan, but yeah, that is me on the right. This guy is crazy. I have no idea. Does anybody else think he's joking too? He's joking, right? Jorgensen. That's a joke, right? The guy on the left, the guy on the right. I don't see anybody. I just see myself here. I don't see any pictures. Florian Gatsby, yeah, that's a good one. Talking about his profile picture. But what are you saying like you can look at somebody's, do we have profile pictures? I guess we do on YouTube. Yeah, we do. I do. Florian Gatsby. Yeah, I like this woman Tufts Studio. I like Sarah Wells Rolland. Really like to watch her videos. This is getting a little, oh look, I just discovered something new. If I don't have my bucket, I can just clean my hands off with a ruler. Genius. Who else do you like to watch? I've hungered for your touch. Is he talking? Oh yeah, back to the profile picture. Okay. Couple more of these. All right. I don't know if that's, I never know like with these things, like sometimes people are being mean and I can't tell, or they're trying to be flirtatious and I just don't get it. So maybe if somebody can translate a little bit for me, or what you think is going on here. Everybody's allowed in the room. No joke, the real deal. Okay. What? The real deal what? Sorry, because if you're saying stuff and you're like the same person who was saying something like 3 times ago, I might not be putting that together. I'm like literally, you can probably see me squinting towards the camera. I can barely see anything. Someone is being silly. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Thanks, Carol, for translating. I need it. I need a little help here. Someone's being silly. Okay, now this pointer gauge is now in my way. So I'm gonna put these here and I'm gonna move that out of the way. Couple more. Unchained Melody, Ghost, exactly. That's what I was thinking, those 2 things exactly. Oh, here, since you're on YouTube and I'm almost done, I highly suggest that you do a search for Elvis's last performance of Unchained Melody. It is so intense. He's obviously not in a great shape, but it's also so emotional and passionate. He's like sweating, and you know he could like die right there in the recording. Let's see, yeah, Unchained Melody, Elvis's last performance. Really, really good. Couple more. This has been nice. Thank you for the people who have been here for a while and the people who are, Amy, I love some Elvis. Yeah, talk about classic. You can't get more classic than Elvis. Have you seen that, Carol? Have you seen that last performance of Unchained Melody? If not, let me know. Let me know if you check it out. So this part that I make as a foot, if you've noticed that I'm making like a foot on the bottom, it has to be tipped in at an angle because when it turns over, it is a knob that you have to be able to pick up. And it also has to be tall enough so it's easy to grab. Unchained Melody would be a good song to throw pots to. Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it's fun to sing. It's fun to sing and throw and make jokes. If you're a potter, one of my things that I teach my students is to smile when you throw. You know, we have this like beautiful little opportunity to have a nice time doing what we're doing, and sometimes people struggle too much and work too hard and get a scowl on their face, and then their bodies don't feel good. So it's a nice little hack to smile when you throw. Crack yourself up, tell yourself some jokes, make up some stuff, sing a silly song. Okay, a couple more. Actually, I think I'm gonna just throw one more cylinder and be done because I'm running out of room to put anything. So I think we're just gonna have this be the last one. I'm gonna clean up the vat. So many different styles of throwing. I have this one student who cleans the vat constantly. Like she can't throw on a, come up a little bit. She can't throw on a messy vat. Just one of those things. But for me in production, you know, I just want to do only necessary moves. Okay, not too much clay here. Come in, thick wall, thin out the rim. One more pull. There we go. Thick wall. And thin out the rim. And now that I see this, I realize what I really want to make, because it's about the right right size, not the right proportions, is I would like to make a cappuccino cup. So I'm gonna open this out. I don't normally do that. I normally just pick something that I want to make and I make it. But sometimes with the last little bit of clay, I'm in the mystery. I don't know what's happening. And let's see here. Okay, maybe a little too big for cappuccino. We might have moved into latte land. That's okay. And that's just one pot that I have to make some of is cappuccino cups, and I just remembered it just now. So let's give it a foot. And finish that. Uh-oh. The first one of anything, I call it the first pancake. Just can't expect too much of it. It's like, yeah, figuring out the form and figuring out the amount of clay and figuring out the dimensions. Then after that, it's easy. Okay, I'm gonna leave this one on the wheel to dry. I don't need to touch it. It's a pretty thin rim, but that's okay. All right, folks. I know, I think it's a latte cup. I mean, it will shrink. It'll shrink about 12%, but it's a little too big. Yeah, I didn't have to do that. Vibrant deep crimson red clay I was talking about earlier. Oh, the Valentine's? Is that you talking about Valentine's clay? It could be a ramen bowl with a handle. No, it's too small for ramen. I mean, look at how small that is. I don't know if it looks big, but it's like, this is about 4.5 inches wide. So It's going to be a latte cup. It's going to be too big for cappuccino, but it will fit under the espresso thing, I think. Soup cup. Everybody's voting for soup. I like a bigger bowl for soup personally. This is not going to be that big of a bowl. They always look bigger when they're on the wheel, but that's not that big. That's just about like 10 ounces. Like the not what will fit in there, but the amount of clay I used was just about 10 ounces. Okay, let me safely get out of here. Remember how I almost tripped before? Maybe some of you saw me almost trip before. Okay, I'll pull this back so you can see everything I just made. That is our bounty for the day. Yeah, and like I said, normally I would just make one of the same thing, and so I'd be a lot more productive because I get into my groove and, you know, just go into automatic pilot. But today there was a little bit of thinking and a little bit of measuring. I see the hearts coming. Thank you, folks. It's very sweet. Okay, I'm gonna just quick look back through all this stuff and make sure. Oh, Carol, I've been throwing now for 37 years this year. 37 years, since 1989. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm just, oh, and a couple people asked that same question. Yeah, 37 years. All right. Okay, I think I got pretty much everything. Thanks so much for being here. If you're not following me, follow me. And have a great day, everyone.